Good morning, good evening, good night. My name is Christian Long, and the comic that I am presenting to you this evening is God Country. Written by Donnie Cates, art by Jeff Shaw. Oh my gosh, I completely blanked right there, didn't I? Color by Jason Wardy, letter and design by John J. Hill, who of course I think we all have a fondness for probably, since we all had to letter a 3-page comic. This man had to do it for 159 pages. That was how long God Country was. A little bit longer because they had some extras for alternative covers that they used for God Country. And it was published by Image Comics, who I love because they can. It's creator owned, so they kind of get to do what they want. There's no if you notice in DC and Marvel, some issues the artist may be different, or they'll switch writers from time to time. With Image, what you see is what you get. Whoever made the idea of God Country is going to be Donnie Cates, and it's Donnie Cates forever unless he sells the rights, I guess. And the art's always going to kind of be the same because they've got the guy they want, and they're going to keep him, and they're going to do the whole thing. Another thing is God Country is kind of what I guess you designate as a true graphic novel. It ran as 6 issues, which some people call that a mini-series, but it has a beginning, middle, and end. It's not like DC or Marvel where if you note sometimes on the kind of the panels, as you see right here, it's just a sword. Some will have like 1, 2, and those are volumes, kind of designating the writer's run. Sometimes they'll go over, but you'll notice kind of like different authors will pick up because each one's kind of a self-contained story, but there's an overall arc. Anyway, this is to itself. And what the story is about Emmett Quinlan, who is an old man who... and you'll see right here kind of our first look at Quinlan. And if you look in the bottom left corner there, you see this crazy eye, and that's Emmett. He's diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And you can actually see closer here. His son there in the second panel, move over here, is Roy. He decides to come back to Texas to kind of look after his dad and kind of help him. And this is sort of, I guess, a subject to subject, which Scott McCloud talked about, kind of showing you what are we here for, what are we doing, and he does a very good job. Cates does, along with Jeff Shaw, transitioning panels and kind of showing you what's going on. And so the first act, this runs. It's kind of a bit different hours. I believe it was kind of a quarter, a half, and another quarter, about how long a comic should be. But this was kind of different. God Country, each issue ran about 25 pages. Fun fact, most comics run about 22, and annuals, I think, run 32. Because ads run about 10 pages in comics. So this was 25. So that's about 3 or 4 pages more than a regular comic would be. And so he kind of broke his down. His first and third act essentially are first issue and 6th issue, respectively, with issues 2 through 4 being your second act. And what happens is this sword called Halifax rains down upon the great state of Texas. Never been there. Visited one time, didn't particularly like it, but as you can see there, big whoosh, which is an awesome splash page there. Emmett claims this sword, Halifax, which is actually, Halifax chooses him. He actually slays a monster, which is in the previous page, which will show because it's actually a very good kind of an action panel by panel. You see it right up here. You got in the background is his granddaughter-in-law, or I'm sorry, his daughter-in-law, and then his granddaughter, and then we've got this creature, which you don't know yet, but he's coming to take the sword. But it goes for the daughter, and then kind of at the bottom here we see it's full of glee, and then obviously the next page, Emmett kills it, slays it. And what happens is when Emmett takes the hold of the sword, he's Alzheimer's, which is diagnosed with, is gone, and he remembers all of his memories. And however, the sword is not his. So the end of Act 1, when he gets the sword, kind of sets up essentially what it's all about. And this is actually not your main antagonist here. He's actually one of the sons. And they want the sword back. And that's essentially Emmett's goal. Emmett's not going to give the sword up without a fight. And so that kind of starts Act 2. Emmett tells the god, they have a nice little discussion. The god of war is actually very polite, and he kind of tells Emmett, listen, my father Adam created the sword and he wants it back. Valifax, the sword itself, says, well, I chose Emmett to kind of take care of me. And the god of war is kind of perplexed by that. And so Emmett sort of sends him back with, well, if he wants it, he can come and take it. And so the god Adam says, okay, we can do that. I'll come and take it. And he has one of his other sons who is akin to essentially this guy right here, kind of akin to Hades. He's sort of the god of the underworld. He's son of Adam, and he's brother to the god of war. Takes Emmett's granddaughter, and Emmett decides to go back to kind of go take her. And there's a scene here, really cool. The god of death, essentially, tricks Emmett into thinking that his wife's alive. And in that moment of weakness, Emmett drops the sword of Halifax, and the god of death, destruction, whatever, takes it. And Halifax is like, well, I don't deem you worthy, and sort of it kind of backloads on him and saps all his power. So Emmett, and it kind of starts right here. Actually, in this kind of, again, Cates loves, splash pages. He uses them very frequently in God Country. That disintegration there is the image of his wife, because down here in the bottom corner, that's the god of death and destruction that you saw later after Halifax deals with him. He's kind of lost a lot of his power. So Emmett, in a fit of rage, this is a really cool thing because it's an awesome action sequence and it's a very good transition of what's going on here. And it works also well as a very good use of like a comic within a comic. Because boom, you start, we'll pick it up, Emmett kind of punches him again, and you just see him kind of beat him to a pulp, and you get to see that rage of kind of having lost something. However, Emmett gets very selfish with the sword, and he does not want to let it go, which shows up later kind of in the comic. Adam sends his son, the god of war, again, and they kind of duke it out. And right here, Emmett kind of bests him in battle and takes his warhammer. But the fighting is kind of backlashed and caused a lot of destruction. And so Roy, his son, is like, you're kind of right here. You're taking it too far. You're kind of scaring my family. And Emmett realizes, he's like, wow, I've gone too far with this. Like, it kind of cures my Alzheimer's. But at what cost? And that's the goal for Emmett, kind of, is what am I willing to give up to kind of keep this sword? And so he realizes it's not, if it harms my family, I've decided it's too much. And this kind of showing you again, I showed you an action scene, but there's a good, literally, scene transition, because Emmett literally transcends space. Right up here, he leaves his farm and goes to Adam's home planet. Which I'll show you there. Again, splash pages, man. Donny Cates absolutely loves them. And again, and that's Act 2. That's the end of Act 2, because he decides that he's going to take the fight to Adam. And this is where Act 3 kind of sort of begins. And that's about 132 pages into the comic. And kind of you get this really cool climactic battle. And Emmett's kind of been really awesome. I mean, he's just been awesome with his sword. And then he gets up to, like, Adam, man, and Adam's, like, no joke. And so this is where, in this scene, Adam kind of, he's like, I'm going to kill you, your whole family. And so Emmett kind of, as a last-ditch effort, just throws the sword at him. Kind of this climactic battle, the climax of the story. And he hits him And it doesn't kill him, but it wounds him. But it wounds him enough where it kind of opens these portals. He had closed portals off to his homeworld to keep his and Emmett's fight kind of contained. And so Roy, with the God of War, goes to a home planet and he sees his dad. He's kind of dying. And this is a really cool. I love this page right here because, again, like I said, at its core, this story is about fathers and sons and sort of the things you do for them. And Roy kind of never had a very good relationship with his dad, and he just couldn't relate to him. And you see right there, sort of in the thing, this is he gives the sword to Roy, but while they're holding it together, Roy kind of sees his dad's memories and realizes that his dad really loved him and really loved the family, and so he decides, he's going to go all out. He's going to protect him. He's going to save him, which was kind of, Roy realizes, he's like, well, that's what I've got to do. I've got to look after my family. I can't stay here looking after my dad. Also, I just kind of want to show this art right here. I really love this art because you could see it in the background. The God of War and Adam are fighting, and then you got, boom, Roy and Emmett, sort of, as Emmett's dead, he kind of holds on to him. But I really enjoyed this comic. I think it's probably one of the best comics I've read since The Watchmen, to be honest with you. So I would definitely recommend it to my classmates. Again, that was God Country. Definitely friends, man. Friends and family, because, like I said, at its core, it's a story about dads and their sons and what you're willing to do to take care of your family. But I hope you guys liked this presentation. It was a joy talking to you, and wish the best of you guys luck.